I'm going to introduce our candidates. We're ready? We've had enough preliminaries. Let's go. So we have our four candidates. I'll just introduce them in the order that they're going to be here on the stage, so they can just come on up. We have Ms. Charlotte Bergman. Yeah, we can give them a round of applause. Mr. Brent Taylor. Jeremy Thompson, Mr. Todd Warner. And I'm going to turn this show over to Mr. Steve Gill.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. This is important stuff, and unfortunately, the media attention on a lot of these races does not really meet the importance of these races. So thank you all for coming personally. I think they're taping this, so it'll be shared afterwards so that people can kind of get their best shot to see what the candidates have to say about the issues that will matter certainly over the next 2 years, but as we've seen so often in Congress, once people get in, they tend to be there for a while. So this open seat first opportunity is a great chance for you all to get a good sense of what is going to happen and the important issues that these people are going to deal with, not just in the short term, but in the long term. The questions that we have prepared have not been shared with any of the candidates. I did send a copy to Donna Brazile so she could share it with Hillary Clinton in the best sort of means that the Democrat liberal media continues to conduct itself. But other than sharing it with Donna, nobody else has seen these, and I've even adjusted some of them. So we'll start out, and what we did beforehand is we drew the order that they will do their opening statements, also the order that we will begin the questions for each of the initial questions, and then in the closing statements, we'll go in reverse order of the four candidates versus what we're doing with the start. So to start, after the draw that we had, we're going to ask each of you to introduce yourself, telling you just a little bit about who you are, what makes you the best choice in your view to represent Tennessee's new 9th district in the U.S. House of Representatives. And for folks to be aware, this is the district that was newly drawn by the legislature in May. None of y'all knew you were running until about 50 days or so, and it stretches literally from Memphis all the way to here in Williamson County, so it's a big territory, a lot of diverse geography and employment, everything else. So let's start with Jeremy Thompson. You drew first. You'll start with telling us a little bit about why you should be the pick.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll always open by saying thank you to those who are present for keeping the Republican Party alive and continue to energize it. So I want to make sure that I continue that and say thank you. My name is Jeremy Thompson. I'm running for the 9th Congressional District here in Tennessee. The reason we entered the race is because we love this country. I love this country enough to die for it, and I hope I've demonstrated that with 22 years of service in uniform. In addition to that, we have always lived our lives in Tennessee, with the exception of my military time away. We live on a small farm down in Lincoln County, Fayetteville, Tennessee. I've been married to and with my wife since 1998. We got married in 2004 after a deployment to Afghanistan. And we have a 19-year-old son who will go to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville in the fall. And we have a 14-year-old girl that will come up to high school from middle school here shortly. And we're proud of both of them. The one thing I'll say is Tennessee voters are looking for something different. This is not a coattail politics thing for me. This is something entirely different, new and dynamic, and I believe I am uniquely qualified, competent, and capable to take on this task and bring new thoughts, ideas, and structure to D.C. We have to start with cultural change in the United States of America if we want to continue 250 more years. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jeremy. State Representative Todd Warner was in the midst, along with Senator Brent Taylor, of the fury and furor that redrew this district. So why don't you go next? You drew second. Todd Warner.
Thank you, Steve, and it's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you, Williamson County GOP, and just everyone for coming. I'm Todd Warner, small business owner, farmer, married to my wife over here in Cindy for 35 years. I have 3 children, 2 grandchildren. I've served 6 years in the State House in Nashville. In those 6 years that I've served in the State House in Nashville, I've consistently been ranked one of the most conservative members in the House. This year, only member in the House and Senate to score 100 by the conservative watchdog groups up there. When I have to push back against leadership, I've done it. When it comes to putting the voice of the people in my district before leadership, before the special interest, I've done it. I've been punished for it. But at the end of the day, I work for you, the people of the 9th District, and I will continue to carry that value, that characteristic, that tradition to Washington, if you will allow me to be your next congressman. I'm Todd Warner, and I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. State Senator Brent Taylor.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for being here. This makes it a lot easier for us candidates, for y'all to come to us instead of us going out and going into every small town and village and big city looking for votes, so we appreciate you being here. I'm State Senator Brent Taylor, and in addition to being a state senator, I've been a small business owner, so I know what it's like to be a business owner and have to make payroll. I know what it's like to lay awake at night wondering, Andy, whether or not I have enough money for payroll the next day. Most insulting check I ever wrote was $10. Had 2 kids, one still in diapers. And I also understand how important it is for employees, members of the community, for these small business owners. I've also served at every level of government. I've served at the city council level, the county commission. I've been chairman of the election commission and currently serve in the state senate. I've been very blessed in this election. I've received a lot of endorsements and support from folks like Senator Marsha Blackburn, Senator Haggerty, a lot of local elected officials. Some are in this room this evening. But I will tell you, the most interesting endorsement I got earlier this week, Monday, I received a call from President Trump, where he said he had been following my race, talked about the issues that I had been working on and talking about in this campaign, and said he was giving me his full and complete endorsement, and we're so very proud to be able to stand with President Trump to make sure that I'm the impeachment insurance, that we can make sure that we retain the House of Representatives so that we can make sure that we don't have to go through impeachment, and that we can get him to implement his America First policy. The first thing I will do, though, y'all talked about the congressional office. I will keep a congressional office here in Williamson County. That is very important. And Williamson County deserves to maintain a congressional office for the 9th Congressional District. I look forward, Steve, to talk about the issues.
Thank you, Brent. This is not Charlotte Bergman's first race in the 9th District. She was running before it was this 9th District. As some people might say, to quote country music, you were running in the 9th before country was cool. Charlotte Bergman.
That is true, and I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. You could have been anywhere else, but I believe you love your country as much as I do. My name is Charlotte Bergman. I have been a Republican for 34 years. I actually graduated from Christian Brothers University as well as State Technical Institute. I am from a family of 10 children. My father was a Baptist minister. I know about the American dream. I know about the American dream. I was raised in poverty. There were 8 of us children at one point living in a 1-bedroom apartment. We actually moved on up in the world, and we moved into a 3-bedroom apartment. And by that time, we had 10 children. Doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is where you finish. And I'm excited to be able to be here with you all. I have been elected multiple times by the Republican Party. The Democrat Party has never elected me. I was elected as first a delegate for the convention in 2016 for President Trump. Again in 2020, I actually served as a member of President Bush's President Club. I actually was going back and forth from Memphis to Washington, D.C. Why? Jobs, giving people hope for a future, to be able to pay for the things that they want to pay for. I'm here now because I want to be an example to young people who may have sought to accomplish a goal, saw that goal disappear before their eyes. But I encourage them to pick themselves up, get back out there, as well as an encouragement. I am Charlotte Bergman, and I'll tell you what, I am going to fight you. Look, Abraham Lincoln ran 8 times. I don't anticipate taking that long to represent you, but I certainly look forward to representing you. Charlotte Bergman, check me out at bergmanforcongress.com. God bless you.
Thank you, Charlotte. And let's start with our first question. Again, we're going to go in order down the line. Each candidate gets a chance to respond to the question, and then you get a chance to say, I want to also address that. And we may, on some of these, give everybody a chance to talk about some of these questions as well. Starting with you, Jeremy, we hear a lot about America First. Tell us whether you believe Congress is actually pursuing the policies that respect and support the ideas of whatever America First is. And is it different than MAGA, or are they the same thing?
Okay, so this is a good question, and thank you. I have been analyzing the steady decline of this country for a very long time. I'm 47 years old. I've been around the world 3 times. As I said earlier, I was an air source intelligence analyst for the United States Army Special Operations Community for a long time. So threat assessments and national security is something that's very keen to everything that I do. Congress is probably more dysfunctional and more busted right now than it ever has been in United States history, and we've been through a lot of hard times in this country. We have men and women going to Congress and being elected to Congress, somehow qualifying for Congress, who do not love our country and have no intent whatsoever to support anything pro-American. And that's one reason that I woke up that Thursday morning after the redistricting and said, good people cannot continue to stay in the shadows. Good people have to step forward, put themselves on the line, and face things, the hard things facing this nation, and bring real world solutions to our issues. So I think to answer the question is, no, I don't think Congress is doing the job. I don't think Republicans or Democrats are doing the job right now. I think we're busted, broken, and we have to bring a different cultural conversation to the halls of Congress and get back to the United States Constitution and get grounded in what developed and originated this country to begin with, and carry this country forward for another 250 years. We're not going to do that with politics as usual. We have to carry a different thought process and conversation in Congress.
Thank you. Any of the others want to respond? You can use one of your gold chips and say, I want to take on that question too. That's how it's going to work. They're all going to get at least 5 of the 8 questions, but and you don't know what's coming next.
I don't want to listen just yet.
Todd, the next question is, as you take your place in the House of Representatives, you're going to be involved in obviously the most important decisions affecting the future of our state, of our communities, of our nation, and to a large extent the world. If you could sit down with President Trump tomorrow and your congressional colleagues, the leadership, and could offer them we need to keep doing this, we need to stop doing this, we need to start doing this, what would be the advice you'd offer to President Trump?
Tough question. He's done a fantastic job, and I support our president 100%. Matter of fact, the day he came down the escalators in 2016, I said, that's my guy. But, maybe the tariffs, as a small farmer, I see the tariffs hurting small farmers across this district. Once you get south of Martinsburg, really starting in Williamson County, heading that way, heading west, there's a bunch of small farmers. The tariffs, they really hurt the farmers. The only other advice that I might offer President Trump is the next time that he sits down with his cabinet and whatnot and picks the Supreme Court justices, if he needs to pick another one before he leaves office, let's make sure that we get a true conservative in there. Because the two that we have there, I feel like they've let our president down. I feel like they've let us down at times on some of the decisions that they've made. Other than that, I think he's done a pretty good job, except one other, and that would be the endorsement. I'll stop with that.
I told y'all if you get mentioned by name or by referring to that idiot to my right, even if it's my far right, you get a chance to respond. You have 1 minute.
Well, thank you. Y'all heard it first. Representative Warner said he supported President Trump 100%. And I hope that means the endorsement as well.
Brett, we'll come to you with the third question. As a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, a big challenge is balancing local issues, federal concerns, international concerns. Americans have kind of a default setting of isolationism. We've been celebrating our 250th birthday. President Washington said, let's avoid foreign entanglements. On one hand, we've got to be entangled. On the other, what's happening in Collierville and Lincoln County and Nolensville, all that matters. Smyrna and Laverne are also in this district. It is a huge district, 15 counties in all or in part. How are you going to balance this Memphis to Brentwood challenge of both local and federal, state and international issues?
Yeah, so, these districts now, the way they've been redrawn, they really look like Tennessee. They've got an urban core down in Shelby County. There are suburban communities in Shelby County and also here in Williamson County. And then there's a lot of rural areas in between. And what I will do, Steve, is to do what I have been doing in the state Senate and balancing those types of interests. I mean, everything in the state Senate I've done, I have fought to ensure that we fight crime and keep crime from spreading out of these big cities into our rural communities. I've also fought on immigration. I have fought to ensure that we have laws in place that require the sheriffs that when they have somebody that's here illegally, that they notify ICE, and moreover, they have to hold them for the full 48 hours until ICE can come and pick them up. That makes our community safer to make that transfer while they are in custody. And then the other thing is fight China. You mentioned, I think, China in your question, or at least foreign entanglements. China is here. They are trying to do harm to our country in our country. And one way they're doing that, they're trying to hurt us economically because they will finance lawsuits through these NGOs. They'll go to trial lawyers and say, look, we'll fund that lawsuit. And those funding agreements also include control of the lawsuit so the plaintiff actually loses control. And they will get all of the documents from discovery and they send that back to China. They counterfeit our products. And I passed a law in the legislature that puts a stop to that. They have to disclose it. It limits what they can get through discovery. And it also allows the plaintiff to keep control of the lawsuit. And that's important because our businesses here are struggling to ensure that they have a good market, that their products aren't being undercut by counterfeit products from other parts of the world. And so I will continue to do what I've been doing in the Senate. And I have a rural background. I've represented urban and suburban communities. I understand every part of this district and look forward to representing you in Congress.
Anybody want to weigh in on that one? All right, we'll go to Charlotte. Charlotte, being from Memphis, you've seen firsthand the impact of President Trump dispatching National Guard, ICE, and others to deal with the flood of illegal immigration. We see it across the state. We see it across the country. The Supreme Court has just ruled in favor, tight decision, and maybe they're going to rehear it, that birthright citizenship does apply to people who are here illegally, contrary to what our drafters of the 14th Amendment intended. How would you craft legislation to deal with birthright citizenship? Some are suggesting that President Trump should just jerk every visa of every woman who's here from another country or deny visas to women because, contrary to the Democrats, only half of our population can have a baby. Is that too much? Or are there other ways to stop the plague of birthright citizenship without targeting women in particular?
Oh, that is an excellent question. The Supreme Court making that ruling, that was totally asinine. Our country is, at this point, is at risk of being taken over by, say, Chinese coming over here, dropping babies, taking the babies back to China, raising them to become communists, coming back over to the United States, and implementing their ideas and thoughts. I am happy that Congressman Andy Ogle decided to actually put forth legislation. First of all, we've got to make sure our borders are locked down. And there's a big, beautiful door in the middle of the wall that has been implemented so that people who actually want to come here legally to follow our Constitution, they are allowed to come. But for those who want to come here illegally and drop their babies, that's a no-no. The 14th and 15th Amendment is solid. They're coming here and they're taking advantage of our laws. What is it about subject to the jurisdiction in our community at hand. What is it about that the Supreme Court couldn't understand? Okay? I think what we need is a Supreme Court, and President Trump hopefully will be able to nominate another or a replacement. But I think they're playing politics with us, with our lives, with our livelihood, and I really believe that it is imperative that they understand that, first of all, the Constitution means what it says, that there is no reason why they have to compromise their rulings to appeal to radical leftists. Legislation needs to be passed to make sure that our doors, our borders are locked down and Americans are here and Americans receive the benefits of this country.
Charlotte, you've invoked the 5 members of the Supreme Court who blew that one. If they were available, I'd let them respond, even though I don't think they could. I'm going to let you go and respond as well, Brandon.
All right, thank you. I think the best way to deal with birthright citizenship, given the fact the Supreme Court has ruled the way they have, is to stop, number one, stop illegal immigration. President Trump has done it. We need to ensure that we stop people that are coming across the border illegally. We also have to stop people who are coming with a visa and overstaying their visa once they get here. And once we can deal with the illegals flooding the border, the people who are coming and overstaying the visas, the other thing we need to do, Steve, is we need to do what we did in the early 1900s. After all the Irish and Italian immigrants came in, the United States did a pause on all immigration to give the Irish and the Italians time to assimilate into America. And that's what we need. America needs some me time. And so that's the best way to deal with the birthright citizenship issues, to limit the people that are coming into our country either illegally, overstaying their visas, or the legal, once they're here illegally, obviously they're American citizens, but we have to control who's coming into our country. And I think America needs some me time, and that's the best way to deal with the birthright citizenship, given the Constitution.
On behalf of my Irish ancestors, I would invoke my privilege to respond, except I agree with you. So we're going to move next to a lightning round. What this means is you're all going to get the same question. We go in that same order that we started and go back and go back and forth. We got 7 questions. I want a real quick answer. Yes, no, 10 seconds or so just on the lightning round on these pretty easy questions. We'll start with where we started at the beginning. Number 1, because we've actually gone through all 4. So Jeremy, you'll get first shot, and then everybody will get a chance to answer. National abortion ban. Make a national abortion ban or leave it up to the individual states?
I believe this has to be a state issue. I think government's involved in too much of our lives already, and we have to get government out of the people's business.
Todd Warner?
National abortion ban.
Brent?
National abortion ban.
Charlotte?
I'm a Christian. National abortion ban. You choose to abort a baby, that's murder.
Second short lightning round question. Y'all can applaud. We're not like those national debates. Give a loud feedback.
Yeah, so sure. There's nothing about abortion that is okay. It needs to be held strictly accountable. We have to prosecute that to the fullest extent of the law. I don't want to misrepresent that at all. A national abortion ban, sure.
Second, and we'll start with Todd. Hand-marked paper ballots, or do we want voting machines?
Absolutely 100% hand-marked paper ballots. They stole the election in 2020. If we give them an opportunity, they'll do it again.
Brett?
When I was chairman of the election commission, I implemented a hybrid system. We purchased machines, but we gave the voters, Steve, the opportunity to choose how they wanted to cast their ballot, and we did not have hand-marked paper ballots in Shelby County until I became chairman of the election commission.
Charlotte, hand-marked or election machines?
Oh, get rid of the machine. Get rid of them. Hand-marked paper ballots, and get rid of the barcodes so that people will know who they actually voted for instead of the machine voted for.
And finally, Derek?
100%. We have to get control of our elections.
See, who says we're divided? We've got agreement on all these. We'll start with the third one, and on this one, we'll start with Brent. U.S. military action against drug cartels. Should we be blowing up these boats, slipping in and out of Venezuela or anywhere else? Military action against drug cartels.
Yes, I support President Trump on that. We have to do it to protect Americans.
Charlotte?
I absolutely agree. Military getting involved, because the police can't handle it. So we need to make sure that we get rid of the opportunity for people to be here illegally, and we need to allow our military to do their job to help make this country better.
Jeremy, you've been pointing the spear.
You're right. So peace through strength has to be our way forward. We can't continue to be a reactive military force in the United States of America. We have to hold enemies and adversaries accountable.
Todd, military action against cartels?
Absolutely, blow them out of the water.
We've been doing that. Guys, we are $40 trillion in debt and growing. Should Congress borrow from Social Security or start paying the bills? And we'll start, make sure I don't get lost here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just start with Charlotte.
Yes. Listen, Congress should not continue to borrow. They're spending too much. What we need to do is start cutting and to preserve Social Security.
And we'll go next to Brent, because we're going to go reverse order coming back. Brent, should we borrow from Social Security?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Should Congress borrow from Social Security or find ways to balance our budget?
No, we should find other ways to balance our budget, but we can't continue to borrow to the tune of $40 trillion. We need to find a way to go. We're going to lightning round, or is this my two?
This is lightning round,
Lightning
yeah.
round. Okay. I thought it was.
I'm sorry, we're on lightning round right now. That was short enough. We'll go to Todd
Absolutely not. We should stop borrowing from Social Security. Balance the budget.
and Jeremy.
We have to do everything we can to protect that Social Security. We have a $4.5 to $5.5 trillion income, and we're spending somewhere between $6 and $7 trillion every year. We got to do better than that.
Next lightning round question starts with Todd. Deport all illegal immigrants or just those who commit crimes after they arrive? Obviously, arriving here illegally is a crime, but should it be based on being here illegally or what you do after you come illegally?
Absolutely, every one of them has got to go. Got to get rid of them.
Jeremy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Brent?
Yes, and I sponsored legislation in the state Senate, which was passed, that says just the mere presence of being here illegally in Tennessee is a violation of Tennessee law. They all need to go back.
And Charlotte?
What I find so interesting is we are offering to pay people and to fly them back to their own homes. That way they can come back to the United States. But with our ICE agents having to go and pick them up, that is so asinine. We need to make sure that they're out of the country.
Another lightning round, and we'll start with Todd. That's okay, y'all can clap. Just don't do the wave, that's distracting. So, Todd, we'll start with you on this next lightning round question. Should we pass legislation banning congressional stock trading, yes or no?
Absolutely, 100%. That's what's wrong with Washington. That's why you have career politicians there. It's got to stop.
Jeremy?
Too many people in politics for that reason alone, to go get rich off of being a politician.
Charlotte?
Absolutely. And more importantly, I'm going to go one step forward. One step forward to say, you need to pay it back. You've been cheating us. You need to pay it back.
Yes, I support the ban, and my friend Tim Burchett, who's endorsed me, can't sell skateboards, but he can trade, do insider stock trading if he wanted to. We need to fix that.
Okay, last of the lightning rounds, and I'm going to get y'all a minute on this one because it's a little bit deeper question. You know, we have heard so much about how DOGE was going to cut this, and they found dead people on Social Security, dead people getting various benefits. We were told initially by Scott Dissent, who's done a great job, we're going to cut $2 trillion, and now all of a sudden they've eliminated DOGE. Where's the savings? Where's the money? Talk to me a little about, do we bring back DOGE, and how do we do that? And I'm going to start with you, Todd. And you get a minute each.
Yes, absolutely. We should implement it. I'm not for growing government, but that should be a department that we have, or we create if it's still not there. There's fraud in every state. They'll tell you here in Tennessee there's not fraud, but there's fraud in every state. We have it here in Tennessee. And I introduced a bill this last time that would create a way for us to set up a Doge here in Tennessee. We couldn't get it out of committee, but yes, I support it 100%, and we should keep it.
We'll go to Jerry.
Yes, sir. So the Department of Government Efficiency, my wife and I both are a product of. So I worked under a contract with the GS-13. We both evaluated Trump's initiative with Elon Musk under Doge, and we said we can't be conservative hypocrites and not support the president's pro-American movement to reduce the government footprint. So we both forfeited our positions with the U.S. government, and we went into an entrepreneurial role to where we can give back to society. And we opened a restaurant called the Revolutionary Tavern. We were told that we would probably have a 90% chance of failure in doing that. So we took the risk. The risk has come with great reward, and I want to encourage Americans to go back to work and do things that give back to society.
Charlotte, has Doge completed its business? Do we need to bring it back and maybe re-emphasize it?
Oh, definitely bring it back, but we have to bring it back under the right circumstances. The margin of votes in the House and the Senate are disparate, and with this one extra seat in Tennessee, that's an additional vote that Speaker Johnson will have. When we have enough people, enough Republicans to vote for it, we can bring it back and allow it to go ahead and complete the mission that it was initially designed to accomplish.
Brent, unlike most federal programs, this one started with a lot of hoopla and optimism. And where'd the money go?
Well, first, I support bringing those back. And you mentioned in your question that a lot of money was going to dead people. And look, all of us are up here are supportive of bringing those back. But there's only one of us up here that's an expert at dead people. And I'm a field director by profession. I can't think of anybody any better than an undertaker to send to Washington to work with them to find out where that money is.
All right, we're back to the 2-minute, and you still have your gold chips if you want to weigh in on some of these. We'll start with number 4, Charlotte Bergman. Oversight is a key function of the U.S. House of Representatives, and recently, declassified documents revealed that billions of dollars in government funding of overseas biological research, the Fauci funding, as well as fraudulent domestic reimbursements, have allowed officials to escape their responsibility for their part, whether it's negligence, whether they were being involved in getting payments. What would you do as a member of Congress to make sure that we are actively not just pursuing these areas like Doge, but going after the authorities responsible for departments and have let their departments either fund things or be stolen or maybe even themselves be involved?
I tell you, as I alluded to earlier, we need enough Republicans that would increase that margin of votes such that Speaker Johnson would be able to pass legislation to address these issues. We've got fraud that Democrats are getting away with. We've got the enemy in the gates. We've got people who don't respect our Constitution, who do not respect the fact that we are a republic that is here and that are trying to stop our government, our Republican government, from implementing the policies that are ultimately going to make this nation great, prosperous, and safe.
Thanks, Charlotte. Next question, unless anybody wants to weigh in more on that one. We'll start with Brent. On the subject of influence and lobbying, it's no secret that Washington, D.C. has been bought and paid for by corporations and other interests, particularly foreign interests, for a long time. They determine the course of our policies with regard to what's right, what's best for the U.S. There's been a lot of controversy lately on not only what we're funding to Israel, but what money coming from Israel is having an influence on our Congress. As a member of Congress, how are you going to be able to assure us that your votes are your own versus the PACs, the special interests? I mean, some people think we ought to be dressing up members of Congress like a NASCAR vehicle. Well, all your sponsors have to be listed with their logos. How would you address this in Congress?
Well, President Trump, and I think this partly went into his decision to support my campaign by endorsing me, is that just like President Trump, I've been blessed, Steve, far more than I deserve with my business. And I'm largely self-funding my campaign. Now, I am accepting campaign contributions. I'll be glad to tell you where you can go and donate if you'd like. But I'm largely self-funding, using my own money, and so they can't influence me simply because I'm able to self-fund my campaign. Look, we do need to limit the amount of influence in Washington. I see it at the state level where we have lobbyists and PACs and what they give to different members. And look, they're not necessarily looking for a vote. They're looking for access so that they can try to influence us in our decisions. And I have disappointed many lobbyists that have come in my office as a state senator and make donations, and I wind up voting against their interests. But when it comes to foreign interests, we really need to limit that because we need to ensure that these countries are not influencing our politicians. We see it in Minnesota where we're electing these hyphenated Americans who have divided loyalties between America and their country. That's why I sponsored legislation this past year with Representative Garrett that says if you have dual citizenship, you cannot be nominated by a political party in this state unless you denounce your citizenship with the other country. The last thing I'll say is that we need to make sure that we only have or elect people that are devoted to America. And I don't believe you can do that when you're a hyphenated American and you have dual citizenship. Vice President Vance said he's ran into a gentleman the other day that told him, y'all don't need to cut foreign aid. My country needs that money. The guy was an American and he was talking about his country. And that's why we cannot have these hyphenated Americans. We need that me time I'm talking about to give these people time to assimilate. We have more foreign nationals in this country today than ever any time in our country's history. We need to make sure that they're assimilated before we continue to let immigrants into our country.
I'll go with Todd next because he flips his so aggressively, Charlotte. It was first. Todd, I know this is something you're passionate about because you've been getting a lot of direct mail from outside interest groups telling us things about you that you might not even know.
That's exactly right. And the senators on the end misled you folks. He put out a letter a few weeks ago that he had raised $400,000, I think, for his campaign. I didn't read it all. He's aligned himself with every career politician in this state. When he first announced, the rumor in Nashville was that he announced that he had all these endorsements within hours of us closing session. He's not self-funded. He's funded by the school choice people or the voucher scam people. He's funded by the career politicians across the state. Get his disclosure and look at it. If you want to see somebody that's truly self-funded, look at mine. I've raised a little bit of money, but most of it's my money. We'll talk about the attack ads. In the heart of this district, right here with the biggest population, they're attacking me daily. There's been like 12 mailers that's gone out on me, attacking me, saying that I'm a rhino, saying that I voted against President Trump's agenda, that I'm a liberal. I'm a father's thing from that. What I voted against was funding Muslim schools in this state, and I think that's wrong. But this man has aligned himself with the special interests, the school choice people especially, and he's having them attack me so he don't have to.
I'm going to go to him because he was invoked, and then I'll come back to you, Charlotte. Brent, do the special interests have an impact on you, and are you responsible for the ads that are being launched against Todd?
No, as I said, I'm largely self-funding my campaign. I said that I'm accepting contributions, and I still will be glad to share with you the website where you can go and contribute to my campaign if you want. If you want to support President Trump and send the candidate that he's asked for to Washington to work alongside him to implement America's First policy, then you're welcome to contribute to my campaign. Again, I put $1 million of my own money in the race. And yes, I've accepted campaign contributions. I said that in my answer. And look, I think it's horrible that these groups are attacking Representative Warren. As you know, independent expenditures, we can have no collaboration or coordination with them. I hate that they're attacking. All I can say is you shouldn't give them so much material to work with.
Yeah, we'll go back 30 seconds to respond to the response.
Well, Senator, will you ask him here on this thing to stop?
yes, I'm happy to tell them, anybody that's attacking Representative Warner, they should stop. I know I would not ask them to do it, but obviously I can't control what they do.
Charlotte Bergman, the question is about PACs, outside influence. Yeah, we're literally seeing, not just in Tennessee, but around the country, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars spent by special interest groups. In Tennessee, many of these are from outside the state. Should we restrict donations and campaign spending if you're not from Tennessee?
When the PACs are financing the campaign, and I'm going to go even further to say, even when you finance your own campaign, I believe you're taking away the voice of the individuals in the community who need to vote for the candidate. Because many times when the PACs encourage the candidate and give them money, that candidate is beholden to the PAC. When a person self-finances their campaign, the probability of them taking time out to listen to you after the election is almost slim to none.
Thank you, Charlotte. Let's go to the next question. We'll start with Todd. It seems to be a foregone conclusion that with each budget, the federal government has to borrow more trillions of dollars. The best example I've heard lately is that if you and I started a business the day Jesus was born and we lost $1 million a day, 365 days a year from then till now, we still wouldn't be $1 trillion in the hole. And as mentioned earlier, we're $40 trillion in the hole today. With both Republicans and Democrats guilty regarding who's in power, how do we weigh this in, restrict it, and start getting to a balanced budget, which we are still so far from? I think somebody mentioned, that maybe Jeremy, we're spending $6 trillion a year, of which $2 trillion a year is more than we're taking in.
Yeah, I think it's the greatest national security threat we have is our budget, our overspending. We have got to cut government. We've got to cut bureaucracy, cut the red tape. Let's help small business. But the idea of continuing to grow government has got to stop. There seems to be no end now in Congress. I think their approval rating is somewhere around 2 or 3%. Washington should take a look at Tennessee. We balance our budget. We're required to do that in the Constitution here in this state, and we do it every year. Washington should look at that. We should start cutting government. The Postal Service should be the first department we get rid of. Forget how many billions of dollars that they lose a year, but that should be one that we cut, do away with. But one thing that we should never cut is services for our veterans. This country does not do enough for our veterans, and I'm a firm believer we should do more. And before we send the first dollar across seas, we should make sure those veterans are taken care of here at home.
Next,
Steve,
I'm sorry, Jeremy.
I'll take that.
Go ahead.
So I said when I opened that we have way too much government and we need less government. And I want to correct the record really quickly because I'm an absolute pro-life candidate. So when you asked me earlier, 100% pro-life candidate. So when you asked me earlier, I misinterpreted a little bit, and I wanted to tell you that we have too much government in our lives right now, and that's what led to my answer. I'm an absolute pro-life candidate. Life is at conception. God protects that. Our lives are given to us by God and enumerated in the Constitution. That's where I'm at on that. But the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, weighs everything in terms of legislation. And we're getting it wrong time after time after time. The Congressional Budget Act of 1974 was enacted by Congress to hold congressional members accountable to presenting the President of the United States a budget. We haven't done that for 38 years. We continue time after time to go after continued resolutions that get us nowhere good. Every time we continue a resolution, we have to fight and go into more debt to get things back on track that are missed during the time that we're bickering back and forth in the United States government. And people want something different. They want accountability, and nobody's bringing accountability to the table.
Steve,
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
could you repeat the question, just make sure I'm answering the right question? Never mind, I'll answer the question you should answer.
Y'all do like I do when I do media. I just answer whatever I want to say regardless of what the question is.
That's what Mr. Thompson did too. So look, I think there are 4 areas that we need to focus on, that I will focus on as a congressman. Number one, we need to take a hard look at foreign aid that we're sending to these other countries. These countries can hate us for free. We don't have to send them money for their hate us. Secondly, we need to go ahead and abolish the Department of Education, send that back to the states, allow the states to be the and we need to send that back to the states. The third thing is we need to take a look at all these NGOs that we're funding with our tax dollars that are anti-American. They are against our Western culture, our Western civilization, and they are teaching a whole new generation to hate America, and they're teaching that to Americans. And we need to stop the funding of these liberal, woke NGOs. And then the last thing I would say is we need to pay close attention to NATO, just like President Trump has. These countries need to pay their fair share because they're expecting us, when they get into trouble in their neighborhood, they're expecting the United States to come and defend them, and we shouldn't do it if they're not paying their fair share of NATO.
Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in on that one? We've got a couple more questions. Jeremy, I think your response is very clear. If I could ask questions well, I'd probably have a career in media. So
No, I appreciate you allowing me to correct the record. It's been on my mind.
You know, education has been a federal issue, unfortunately, for way too long. President Trump is wanting to pull back the federal bureaucracy and pledge to eliminate the Department of Education. Jeremy, we're going to start with you on this one. If we move the federal bureaucracy out of Washington, but we put it into the state bureaucracy and the State Department of Education, have we really gained anything? How do we empower parents in education more than just another level of bureaucrats in Nashville versus Washington?
I think we have to bring the different conversation that I talked about earlier. We have to have a cultural shift in the United States of America where we start to hold ourselves and others accountable. We cannot continue to run this country unaccountable. I think that started, in my opinion, the last 15 or 20 years. There was this shift in ideology in this country where we stopped. We launched a war on law enforcement. They're no longer allowed proactive law enforcement. We're no longer allowed to enforce standards of accountability that this country has grown and thrived on for, like I said, 250 years. And we have to start immediately to get ourselves and others back accountable to what morality looks like and what good looks like. Because we're in a war right now against good and evil. And I think everybody on the stage stands for good. But are we carrying that conversation? Are we brave enough to carry that conversation to the United States government and hold the men and women in these high federal offices accountable to getting ourselves back on track and make our country identify what the Constitution says in its principled form? We had 7 articles, 27 amendments, and now we have 225 federal laws that we now have to go by. And time after time after time, we grow further and further away from God. We don't have God in our lives anymore. We're taking it out of everything that we've done. We have to immediately get God back into our institutions of government and our schools and hold lines of accountability. I think that's where we have to start.
Steve, I absolutely think that we need to do away with the Federal Department of Education. Maybe a few folks there for some distribution, make sure the states get the right amount of money, whatnot, just, small guidelines. That money needs to come to the state. But here in Tennessee, what we need to do at the state is we need to do it at the State Department of Education. That money should go to the locals and let the locals do what's best with that money. I get it. We have some bad actors in town. We have Shelby County. We have Davidson counties that have too many failing schools. But it shouldn't be the Federal Department of Education, by no means, nor the states, to have it say. We should put that back on our parents, our local school board members. They know what's right. They know what our children need. And by George, we know they can be funding vouchers in the state. I hope we get to talk about that.
We will. I got a couple more questions. 2 more questions, and then I do want to touch on the voucher system because it has been a big focal point lately. And I'm going to let y'all all answer these last 3 questions. Each of you guys have, and I'm going to start with Brent on this one. Each of you guys have received endorsements, from President Trump to senators, to congressmen, to local officials, sheriffs, people in your community. How do you see the impact of endorsements? And Tennessee has a long history of endorsements not necessarily playing, whether we get national endorsements. We tend to be pretty independent. But how do each of you guys, and we'll start with you, Brent, and of course you got the gold standard endorsement in Trump. How do you see the endorsements actually playing a role when the votes get counted on August 6th?
Well, first of all, I have been blessed with a lot of endorsements, and I will tell everyone assembled here, I probably need to set the record straight. They did not endorse me because I'm the best looking candidate. My wife thinks I am. They didn't endorse me because I think I'm the nicest candidate. My wife thinks I am. They endorse me because they know that I'm a fighter who won't back down. And I may not agree with them on every issue. Look, Senator Blackburn, if she becomes governor, I'm not going to agree with her on every issue. I'm not going to agree with Bill Hagerty as Tennessee's senior senator. I'm not going to agree with him on every issue. But those local endorsements, they know that I will give them a hearing, that I will research the issue and listen to what they have to say and ultimately make a decision that I think is in the best interest of the 9th Congressional District of West and Middle Tennessee. So I think the endorsements are important that way. They should look through that lens. As it relates to the impact, I think, particularly in this race, I think endorsements probably play an outsized role because this district only came into existence about 90 days ago. And so people are scrambling, they don't even know what district they're in. I bet most of the people here would have to look at a map to try to figure out what district they're in. I know all of us have to look at a map to try to figure out, make sure we're in the right district. So the endorsements in this race, I think, play an outsized role because people are going to make their decision starting tomorrow. They're going to rely on people that they trust, people like President Trump, people like Marcia Blackburn, people like Bill Hagerty, the local elected officials like Ronnie Clifford, who's here in the room with us today. People are going to look to them with these endorsements because this campaign came about quickly and the district has changed considerably from the way it was just 90 days ago.
Charlotte, you're next. Obviously, President Trump's endorsement has carried a lot of weight in other places. Is it possible to overcome that in this race? And I'll let you guys answer this as well.
Well, I would say look around you. If you're in this room and you can vote for one of these candidates, your endorsement means so much more than any endorsement from any elected official, especially from elected officials who are not in the 9th District. Your vote is what matters. I do have a number of endorsements from newspapers, from state senators, and various people. I don't tout those because they're not as important as your vote. And I'm going to remind you tomorrow, please get out to vote and take about 10 people with you and vote for the right people and make the best one for you.
And unlike the Democrats, don't run by Brent's funeral home and bring a bunch of dead people with you. Don't go that route. Jeremy, what do you think? Can you overcome endorsements?
I think so. I think it's been proven in recent weeks that endorsements can be overcome, and there's still a path to victory for those that are actually trying to relate to the people. That's why we entered this race. I'm not a politician. I tell everybody all the time, I'm a soldier and I love this country. I want to see things held accountable. I want to take something to Washington, D.C. that D.C. hasn't seen in a very long time, and it's a new conversation that's dynamic and to the point, and that's getting back to the United States constitutional process. What I would say about endorsements is that it's an age-old political tactic that if you get all the endorsements and you can raise at least a handful of dollars, that you can scare people out of the race and convince the general public that you're the guy that needs to be in office. I don't think that's what the American people are looking like. I don't think that's what they want. I certainly don't think Tennessee wants that. I think Tennessee wants something entirely different, new, and dynamic to take a different cultural conversation to D.C.
Todd, I know you've been touting a lot of local officials, a lot of your legislative allies who have seen you work. Is that enough to overcome a Trump Senate endorsement?
Yeah, absolutely. President Trump's been ill-advised before. I'll name a few. That he was given bad information. Herschel Walker. Look what that done for us. Dr. Oz, Pennsylvania. What that gets us. So don't always count on an endorsement. The only endorsement I'm asking for, or the only endorsement I need, is the people of this 9th District. I haven't asked anyone for an endorsement. And the senator down there referred to Governor Blackburn. I don't think we've had that election yet. I don't really think nobody's voted yet. I think what's sad, that we're all up here having a debate tonight. I think these are the 5th or 6th one, guys. How many times have we sent our governor candidates together? People of this great state deserve to see what's on it, to hear what's on their mind.
Let me ask you the next question, and we'll start with, keep going in order. We'll start with Brent on this one. Money matters in politics, whether you like it or not. I used to tell people, look, money doesn't just talk in politics, it screams. And not having it makes it more difficult to be able to communicate, whether it's yard signs or radio or television. We talked a little bit briefly about third-party interest groups. Should we start reining that in? I mean, Charlotte raised the idea of personal expense. I mean, the Supreme Court's ruled on that one. If you've got money of your own, but should we try to bring money down a little bit less in politics, or is that just the only thing that matters anymore?
Well, what has happened is they put these campaign limits in, and then they pass all of these regulations that we have to follow, and because then the candidates can only accept money up to a certain limit, but the outside groups that Representative Warner was talking about earlier, the outside groups, they can spend unlimited amount of money. So what has happened is the state and federal government, in an attempt to try to create transparency to ensure that we know who's funding these campaigns, we've actually made it more opaque by just shifting the spending to these outside groups who are not accountable to anybody. They can raise untold amount of money. All of us up here, the most we can accept from an individual is $3,500 per person per election. Be glad to direct you to my website if you need to do that. But these outside groups, literally these deep pocket billionaires, can write checks for hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions of dollars, that then get poured into these states to try to influence our elections. And so what we need is full disclosure and determine what limits we need to have, but it needs to be full disclosure and allow these groups, if they want to give to a candidate, they want to give to Ms. Bergman, for example, they want to give to her, as long as she discloses it, then people ought to be able to do that. But the way we have it set up now, it's all done by dark money outside the state, and they're coming in and influencing elections.
Charlotte, I think the campaign disclosures and fundraising were due. I think maybe yesterday they'll start filtering it out pretty quickly. Can you overcome money with grassroots and win races and still get outspent?
Fact of the matter is this: money is the mother's milk of politics. That's a fact. Because you have to pay for TV ads, you have to pay for signs, you have to pay for people to work on your campaign with you, provide strategies. You have to have a number of things in place in order to have a successful campaign. But that's not the only thing. I have run campaigns in the past, and although I have not defeated the Democrat because I lived in a D+20 congressional district, we win the Republican races. And that came about as a result of going out and shaking hands, meeting people, that grassroots, groundwork, meeting and talking to people and asking for that vote. It takes a lot of work, but it can be accomplished.
Jeremy, you run a restaurant. You compete with bigger, better funded restaurants all the time. Can you translate that experience to win against better funded candidates?
What I can tell you is that when we woke up that Thursday morning and decided that we were going to do this, we knew that we would be the underfunded, underknown candidate. I don't hold an election office. I never really desired to hold an election office. What I desire is to change the conversation and culture in our country to where we get back to a pro-constitutional movement. But what I will say is that election finance reform is something that we're going to have to entertain at some point. It's out of control. When you're a candidate and you feel like you have to spend $15,000 to $25,000 for every series of mailers that you send to the general public just to ask for their vote or to get your name recognition out there, I think something's busted and broken about that. It really takes away from the people's objective choice for the best candidate. And I was told early in this election, it was our second event that we went to. The rookie candidate for United States Congress. I walked up to a man, I shook his hand, and he said, "Are you up for this?" I said, "I'm absolutely up for this." And he said, "No, are you really up for this?" I said, "I don't understand." He said, "Do you have what it's going to take to finance it?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I think so. I think the money will come." And he said, "If you don't have $3 to $5 million in your account right now, then you're wasting your time and everybody else's around you." And I thought that's a very shameful way to move politics forward in this country. If politics can continue to be paid for and bought, then there's no reason for good people to step forward and run for the offices of this country.
Todd, candidates win all the time. They get outspent. You don't have to outspend, but you have to have enough. Do you have enough to win?
Yeah, you got to outwork them, Steve, and that's what we've done in this campaign. We've knocked 30,000 doors. We're on TV. We're in your mailboxes. You're finding out all about us. And this race is going to come down. You're pretty close, and you're going to see how this thing's going to wind up. It's sad that it does come down, but it does. I mean, there's no. I mean, we can hate all, and I hate it. I don't like having to put as much money as I put in my campaign in it. But if you're going to be serious and let people find out about you, especially when this district starts in Bedford County and goes all the way to Memphis. I mean, you've got to be able to get your name out there to be a serious candidate. You've got to be able to run polls. You've got to be able to send mail. And we've done all that. We've knocked 30,000 doors, and I think that on Election Day, we have a very, very serious shot at this. Even with the Senator's endorsement of President Trump and every other career politician in this state.
Okay, one more question. This election has not been as nasty and as smear driven and as vicious as we've seen in others. But I want you to finish, and we'll start with Jeremy first and go in the order. Tell me something you really like and respect about one of your opponents.
I knew this was coming. It's good.
Hey, don't get to respond to this one. This is not, hopefully will not be a negative one.
I'll tell you, one of the things that I'll say is that I think everybody's been generally respectful of their left and right here on the stage. Generally, not completely. But I guess I'll pick Todd out. We talked early on. Todd asked me, "Are you serious about this?" I said, "I'm absolutely serious." Todd was already a sitting state representative, as we all know. And I didn't know how that relationship would develop. I've been good to Todd. Todd's been good to me. And I think we can move forward on a good note. I'll just say that. I think just maintaining levels of decency and respect are important to politics. And I think that's what the people of Tennessee want to see sent back to Congress.
Todd, you're next. What can you say good about one of your other opponents?
Well, I respect him. I guess I've only talked to Jeremy more than Grant and Charlotte, but I have respect for all of them. But we're at the point in this race where we need to start separating ourselves a little bit. And I think that's important for you to know as voters. Well, what difference y'all? What's the difference in it? And I think, by these debates, like I said, I wish our governor candidates were doing it, where we could find out more about them. But it's time to see the difference where you stand on the issues and things like that. But I respect all the folks in this race. They're very, very good folks.
Charlotte?
One of the things that I have observed about my fellow opponents is they show up. They show up to the forums. They're very serious about this undertaking, and I respect that. But I also want to mention something about the money very quickly. We've got this huge bus, and we're on the road to speak about the fact that our country is being taken over, that I don't want to call them crazies, but I will call them crazies. They're trying to take over our republic, and we've got to stand back. And we're on the road to defeat and bring to the attention socialism and to return our country to a solid republic instead of a socialist or communist country.
The size of the district and the distribution, I know that there's no more for people who are more interested in gas prices coming down than you guys. Brent, what can you say about one of your opponents?
So look, I respect all of them. I consider all of them my friend. But I would tell you, obviously, Jeremy's military service separates him from the rest of us who have not served in uniform, and I believe that he deserves recognition for that. But again, from Todd to Charlotte to Jeremy, I consider them all my friends.
I'm going to give y'all one piece of advice for August 7th. I ran for Congress years ago and went out to my garage, sat in the passenger seat in my SUV and sat there for an hour and a half before I realized my driver wasn't showing up. I was going to have to drive myself. So August 7th, know that things are going to change whether you win or lose. We're going to finish with you all giving an opportunity to summarize your message to voters tonight, ask for the vote, and give us another 2 minutes of why you deserve to be the next member of Congress from the 9th District. And we're going to start with Jeremy.
So I am a husband, I'm a father, I'm a Christian conservative, and the only combat veteran on the stage. I've been around the world 3 different times in different capacities. I've been exposed to and seen things at the federal government level that no one on the stage has seen. I want to carry my competence and my capacity as a United States Congressman to Washington, D.C. to start holding immediate lines of accountability. I believe that I said for a very long time that if I ever get an opportunity like this to be on stage in front of people, that I would put God first in everything we do. We don't talk about it enough, but we started taking a moral decline in this country when we took God out of everything we do. We are being overrun with communists, Marxist, socialism, and now Sharia and Islam. Those are major issues facing our nation, and nobody seems to have the guts to face it head on right now. I want to be the person that stands in the gap on major issues facing this nation, and I want to build an army to get behind this campaign. I'm going to ask everyone to get behind us at jeremythompson.com. I'm going to ask you to call 5, 10, 15 of your friends between now and August 6th. Get out the vote. It's important to the preservation of the Republican Party because the Republican Party is the only one fighting to preserve the United States of America right now. Democrats have lost their party. I don't know what they stand for. I don't think they do either. We have to do something different if we want different results. I believe I'm the only one on the stage that is going to carry something different, unique, and complex to Washington, D.C. And I appreciate everybody having me. Thank you.
This is not our close, right? This is our.
That's your close, yeah.
This is our close? Yeah. Okay. Thank you again, Steve, and thank everyone for being here. Listen, I'm never going to be the one that stands up here and is going to be the most polished speaker that you've ever heard. Senator G, shoot you straight. I'm not going to be that guy. But you're not going to let no one that's going to have your back and watch something like I will. I've done that here in the State House in the 92nd District. I've stayed true to my district when the tough decisions were made, when leadership was threatening me in Nashville, when my home was being raided by the FBI. I didn't turn my back on this district. There's been many times that I could have sold out and I could have stopped these attack ads that are coming through the mail right now. I guarantee you they've probably close to $700,000 or $800,000 on attack ads. And I hear TV commercials are coming. I don't know, we'll see. I will never stop fighting for you. You will have a true voice in Washington if you choose to send me there. And I have a record here in the state that shows that. The last thing I'll say is we've tried to run this campaign as clean and upright as we can run. I haven't trashed any of my opponents, and I won't do that. And nobody should have to go through that. Nobody's dollar should have to go to the mailbox and pull out a mail piece and see their father being attacked for standing up for the people of this district. If you elect me and send me to represent you in the 9th District, you have a strong voice, you have a fighter. And the last question that you got to ask yourself here is, do we want to send someone from Middle Tennessee to represent this district? Or are we going to send someone from Memphis to represent this district? I'm not taking a shot at him personally, but we all know over there in Memphis, they don't share some of the same values that we share right here. So I ask for your vote, ask for your support, and vote Todd Warner. Thank you.
Thanks. Brent, your closing statement.
Thank you, Steve Gill. Thank you, Steve Hickey. Thank you, Brandon, for such a good timekeeper. And I want to thank you all for coming. And as I said in my opening statement, it makes it a lot easier for us to communicate with voters when y'all assemble like this instead of us having to go out and look, obviously I'm here asking for your vote. I want to take the same fight that I've had in the state Senate, fighting this spread of crime out of these big cities into our smaller communities. I want to fight illegal immigration. I want to fight China at the U.S. Congress as opposed to the state Senate. Obviously, President Trump has decided who among the four of us he wants to go and stand with him to fight for America First agenda. I'm very fortunate that I've gotten his endorsement. I hope you will consider that endorsement and my record of fighting crime, fighting illegal immigration, fighting China when you go into the voting booth, hopefully tomorrow. As a field director, I want to encourage you all to vote early, because you just never know. It's important you get that vote in. And then the last thing I'll say, Steve, and I appreciate y'all being here. Election Day is August 6th. My birthday is August 9th. If y'all want to get me a little something, it won't cost you a thing. All you got to do is go into the voting booth, vote for Brent Taylor for Congress. That'd be the best birthday present you can give me. Senator Brent Taylor, I want to ask you to vote. Thank you. God bless you. And may God bless the great state of Tennessee.
Charlotte Bergman, your closing statement.
Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to remind everybody, I am Charlotte Bergman. My website is bergman4congress.com. Listen, when August 7th comes, you wake up, you realize that one of us will be your representative. The problems do not end there. That representative has to face the Democrat. I have been going to communities, to forums where there are Democrats that are included and debated with them. I think they hate my guts. I actually talk about things that many of them know within their hearts are true, but they fail to accept it because they're being misled by the leadership. When you have somebody like Justin Johnson who promises Medicare for all, wages, $25 for the minimum wage, when you have people who want to sell out the United States of America, people, we are in trouble. And we need to be able to have somebody who can stand up to them. Our team has been creating videos, and they've become so intimidated by us that when I attended a forum with Justin Pearson in attendance, they took our video down. They're fighting us because they're afraid of us. I want them to be afraid of us. I want them to know that the Republicans are here. We're not going to back down, but we're going to respect those who want to join us, because going and talking to people who do not think like you, who want to think like you, will bring more and more people together. We need to have more unity, as Abraham Lincoln said. A house divided against itself will fall. America will fall if we allow them to continue. And don't forget that bus. We're going to be at the polls, and I want to meet you. Come and say hi to Charlotte Bergman. I look forward to you. God bless you. This is the greatest country in this world, and it is the last bastion of freedom. Let's preserve it.
Thank you to all the candidates. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to all of you. We promise to get out of here by 8. I'm giving you 1 minute back. So thank you all for being patient with us tonight. Thank you. God bless.